Hello friends, good evening. Welcome to Mission Possible by BK. This is Bharat, Chartered Accountant by profession, and we are covering the Accounting and Finance for Bankers module, and in that we are covering module C, which is related to your final accounts. So far we have seen trading account, profit and loss account, adjustment entries, and a small brief about P&L appropriation account, and we have covered a lot of extensive examples on the adjusting entries that we post. So the next step is actually preparation of balance sheet, which is your final step in preparation of the final accounts. So before that, I will just quickly run through regarding how the entire flow of transaction happens right from the beginning, so that it can just act as a quick recap for you, and then we will start with the balance sheet. So this balance sheet which I am going to explain you today will be more a practical and theoretical mix, whereas there is another chapter which is called as ratio analysis, wherein we will be deep diving into a lot of further deep concepts of balance sheet as well as profit and loss account. So let's get started. So before moving into the balance sheet concept, I just want to quickly tell you what happens first step. The first step is a journal book, wherein you post all the transactions in serial wise. Every transaction is posted serial wise, all transactions. Okay, that is the key. So this used to happen when there was physical books of accounts. Nowadays it is all ERP, so they call it as journal entry. Earlier days all the journal entries were posted in a book and it was called as a journal book. In this journal book, the entries which were posted had debit and credit. Okay, it used to have debit as well as credit. So the account names of this debit and credit were called as ledgers. Ledgers were classified according to their nature. That means each ledger has a different name for rent, for phone expenses, and so on. So the name for each and every ledger is different, and all the transactions of that particular nature are posted into that ledger. That means for rent ledger is used; for telephone expenses, telephone expense ledger is used; for cash ledger is used, and so on. So what happens is all the ledger balances then flow into a consolidated statement of account called as trial balance. Okay, so all your ledger balances, there will be a total, isn't it? For rent, there will be a total of 12,000 per annum. For rent, assuming 12k per annum. For salaries, there will be 1 lakh per annum. These are all the ledger balances. That means here whatever ledgers I have told you, we have to take the total of the ledger balances and it will flow into your trial balance. So your trial balance will look something like this, which I have already discussed. It will have the description here, and it will have the debit, it will have the credit. For example, salaries expenses will be shown on the debit side. Rent expenses will be shown on the debit side, whereas sales income will be shown on the credit side. Just the concept of your nominal account. And at the same time, asset or liability account, for example, receivable will be shown on the debit side because asset has a debit balance. Payable, if any account is there, it will be shown on the credit because payable is a liability. Balance sheet liability means credit balance. So your TB looks like this, and the total of your TB should be matching. If it is 1000 here, it should be 1000 here. So this is what we discussed earlier, and if it is not matching, then we have to do something called as rectification of errors, which we also discussed in a separate video. Rectification are actually divided into one-sided and two-sided. Two-sided errors have to be just posted by reversing the wrong entry and posting the current entry, whereas one-sided error, we will use a temporary account called as suspense account, and then when we finalize or find out the actual reason for that, we will reverse this suspense account. Okay, so this was your concept of trial balance. Now the next concept is, we should understand that from trial balance, all the entries that flow into your P&L and balance sheet, generally they give you a trial balance and ask you to prepare the profit and loss account and balance sheet. So here you should understand one thing, that generally whenever we prepare the final accounts, all the P&L balances that come into your trial balance are temporary. Okay, in general what happens, is all the P&L temporary balances are knocked off. How it is knocked off? It goes into your balance sheet. For example, you have a profit, assuming that there is a P&L account. Okay, you have sales income of 1000 and total expenses of 500. So your net profit becomes 500. Okay, so this 500 will go to a place called as reserves. Where is this reserves? It forms part of your balance sheet liability. Why liability? I will tell you later, but for now you should remember that all the profit and balance account balances are transferred. At the end, the P&L account or the P&L balances or the nominal account balances in TB becomes zero. This is one thing which you should remember, because the net profit goes into your balance sheet. So once the net profit goes into your balance sheet, though there is nothing in P&L, isn't it? So the trial balance P&L account or the nominal account balances also get nullified, and only the balance sheet balances will remain in your trial balances after your entire accounts is done. So this is called as the post closing of trial balance. So this concept is generally called as post closing of your trial balance. So the first step is your unadjusted trial balance, which is your first step. That means direct ledger balances will go into your TB. So this is called as unadjusted trial balance, and then we post the adjustment entries. So the second stage is called as adjusted trial balance, and the last step is called as post closing trial balance. That means after all the P&L account or the nominal account balances are nullified in your TB, because the net profit will go to your balance sheet, so no longer there will be any P&L balances. So this is called as post closing trial balances. I will just quickly give you an example of how this occurs. I'm just trying to minimize this. So assuming that in your TB there is a sales revenue of 9,850 and there are expenses for total, assuming 8,790. Now you will just transfer this to net profit, and that net profit will go to your reserves. So that is how it is done. So just because sales has a credit balance, you will simply pass an entry sales debit 9850, expense credit 8790, because we have to reverse this now. That means from the TB we have to remove this. So sales has a credit balance, so we are just debiting it so that this gets knocked off. Similarly, expense has a debit balance, we are crediting it so that it gets knocked off. So now whatever is the difference, that is nothing but your profit, which will be transferred to reserve. You can simply write as reserves, or you can even write it as capital. It is one and the same, because reserves form part of your capital. Okay, so you can either write capital or you can write reserves. For now it is one and the same. So the difference here 1060, this goes to your balance sheet. So what happens here? Your sales in TB becomes 0, your expense becomes 0. So whatever will be there in the TB after this entry will be only your balance sheet accounts, Why only balance sheet accounts will remain? Because balance sheet accounts are permanent. I already told you this and I have repeated this many times. You should always remember this, because balance sheet transactions are pertaining to more than 1 year period of time, whereas P&L is only for 1 year period of time. So all the balances which are lying in your balance sheet account will flow from 1 year to another year, second year to third year to fourth year. So this balance will keep on flowing. So in the end, the trial balance post closing will have only your real accounts. That means your balance sheet accounts. The nominal accounts gets nullified in the form of transferring the profit to your balance sheet account. This concept is called as closing of your trial balance. Okay, now we will just quickly solve an example on this. I'll just quickly take a few numbers so that you can identify where to put these numbers in the P&L or balance sheet. Just let me write the question for you. I'm just deleting this now. They will give you sometimes questions. Now I'm just solving this for your understanding, friends. Okay, they will generally give you a question. They will give you the TB and they will ask you to prepare the profit and loss account and balance sheet. Okay, debit, they will give you the credit. Assuming land 5 lakhs, furniture 50k, plant and machinery 25k. All these are assets, so it will come under debit balance. Debtors 1.2 lakhs, bank balance 1.16 lakh, cash balance 41,150, and then you have capital 1 lakh. Capital is a liability. Commission 1 lakh. If they give you commission in the credit, it means it is an income for you. Commission received, you should understand in such a way. They won't sometimes mention commission received or commission paid. If it is in credit, it means it is an income. That is an implied meaning. Okay, loan creditors, sales. So here the meaning is that if it is given in credit, it is a sales income. Okay, that is something which is implied. You should understand that, friends. Conveyance 1,000, advertising 1,000, membership fee 1,000, other expense . So this is how the question actually looks, friends. So now we have to prepare a profit and loss account and balance sheet out of this. So you can prepare a profit and loss account or trading account from this straight away by following the rules which I have explained. First we will start with trading account. So he has given sales. So we will identify what are the items which will come in trading account. Sales is given, so sales will come in your trading account, isn't it? So we will put sales credit. So this is debit and this is credit. Okay, and then we will see if there are any purchases. If there are any purchases, then we will book that as well. I think we have not given any purchases here, so better we will include purchases here just to ensure that there is some balance in the profit. So I'm just adding purchase here, 1 lakh. Okay, so purchase will come on your debit side of trading account. So simply we will put purchase here, 1 lakh. Okay, now the difference is your gross profit. So trading account will have gross profit, friends, and your profit and loss account will have net profits. So here 125 and here 1,25,000. It is now matching. If you see all the other expenses, it is not pertaining to trading, because these expenses which I have mentioned here are all indirect expenses, friends. Indirect means which is not related to your production. So you have to take it to your P&L account. After this, the next step is to prepare a P&L account. We will continue the same. So we have gross profit here. So that will be carried forwarded to your profit and loss account. So that amount will be coming here. We will write as gross profit 25,000, and then we will write all the expenses here one by one. So far we have seen a lot of expenses, right? So we will write all those expenses here. So all these expenses, if we can total and write, we can write it, or else you can write it individual. For the sake of time consuming, I'm just writing all the expenses by totaling it here. I'll just total it now. It is coming to 58,850. And if we see, are there any incomes on the credit side here in P&L account? Yes, there is an income called as commission, which has been mentioned on the credit side. So if it is mentioned on the credit side, we have to consider it as commission income. If it is mentioned on the debit side of your TB, we have to take it as commission paid. So here we will write that commission income. Now the total of this is 1,25,000, and if you see here, so the difference between this will be known as your net profit. So 1,25,000 minus 58,850, it will be your 66,150. Okay, so this will be your net profit. So this is how you should arrive at your trading account and P&L account, and then you should go with balance sheet. Just a few minutes ago, what I have told you, whatever is the net profit that comes here, it will be carry forwarded to your balance sheet. So once it is carry forwarded to your balance sheet, then your nominal account, that means your trading account and your P&L account in trial balance becomes 0, because you are carry forwarding it to balance sheet. That means you are transferring the profit to balance sheet. So how we will transfer the profit to balance sheet, I will just explain that in the next few minutes. So now we have prepared trading account and profit and loss account, right? So similarly, we have to prepare a balance sheet. So I'm just moving this up so that we can prepare the balance sheet here itself. So again, balance sheet, the actual format is vertical, but for your understanding, I am now doing it in horizontal format. So this is how your balance sheet in general looks. Balance sheet, credit, liability, and asset debit. So if you see the working here, you can simply know that these are all assets, isn't it? Land, furniture, plant and machinery. So you can just, in your balance sheet, you have to write individually all of this, because every year you have to reduce the depreciation also. Remember what I told you during depreciation? Every year we charge proportionately an amount to profit and loss account, and at the same time we reduce the same amount from the fixed asset, so that at the end of the useful life the asset becomes 0. So totaling this, it comes to around 5.75 lakhs. So I'm straight away putting one amount here. Okay, I'm calling it as fixed assets. For now you can just consider it like that, and the amount is 5,75,000. and if there are any other assets, we will just check if there are any other assets. And you have your debtors 1.2 lakh, bank 1.16, and cash. All these three are also your assets, isn't it? Debtors is an asset, receivable, you have to receive something. Bank and cash balances are also assets, so debit balance. So 1.2, 1.16 and 41,150, it comes to, I'm just writing here, bank, cash and debt receivables, or generally they call it as accounts receivable, and the total comes to 2,77,150. So this is on your asset side, and on your credit side you have something called as capital, which already I have given you. It is around 1 lakh. So capital is 1 lakh here. If there are any other balances, we will just check. We have any other balances? Creditors we have, isn't it? Loan we have, so we have to write that as well. Loan is a liability, so we have to put here as a credit. And then we have creditors. Creditors is just the opposite for your debtors. Just like how we are putting debtors here, accounts receivable, they call it as accounts payable. Creditors means accounts payable, debtors means account receivable. So we just put the amount here, 6,75,000. Now if you total this, how much it comes? So the total here, if you see, the total comes to around 8,52,150. Okay. Now if you total this, so it will come to only 1 lakh, 6 lakh, 6 lakh, 7 lakh, 7 lakh 85,000. Okay, 7 lakh 85,000. No, 7 lakh 86. So it comes to 7 lakh 86. So there is a difference, isn't it? So now what is the difference? 8,52 minus 7,86. The difference is nothing but your net profit. So the difference is 66,150. What did I tell you? The net profit should be brought to your balance sheet and it should be called as reserves. Okay, generally it is called as reserves or retained earnings. Retained earnings means the earnings which you make this year, you retain it, you don't spend it, you retain it for future purposes. So it is called as retained earnings. So that 66,150 if you put here, then the total will become 8,52,150 and the total will match. Okay, this and this will match. That means your asset and liability is matching. So this is the concept, friends, simple concept of preparing a trading account, P&L account and balance sheet account from your trial balance. So for your exam this much knowledge is enough, but there is another topic called as ratio analysis. So what is ratio analysis we will see in the next chapter, but for now this is how you need to practically prepare a balance sheet. Now we will get into some detailed meanings regarding the various terms in balance sheet, and in our next chapter related to ratio analysis we will know the purpose of balance sheet. Now you have know how to prepare balance sheet, but you can have a doubt. Okay sir, now I understood how to prepare, but if I compare the balance sheet of two companies, how will I know which company is performing better? How to judge a company based on their profit or based on their fixed assets, based on their bank balance, based on their loan payable? So how do I judge a company based on their performance? So for that there is something called as ratio analysis. That means we calculate various ratios. It will be both balance sheet ratios as well as profitability ratios, and then we compare the ratios between two companies to find out how they are performing. For example, there are two companies in the same industry, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, both manufacture drinks. So if we compare the ratio between these two companies, we can know which company is earning better profit, which company is having good assets, and which company is more cash rich. So the main purpose of ratio analysis is to compare the financial statements of two companies belonging to a same industry and also know our strengths as well. Based on ratios, we can know which part of our balance sheet or which part of our P&L we are ahead or we are lagging in. So that is the concept of ratio analysis, which we will discuss in the next video. But before that, we will learn a few terms in balance sheet which is necessary before understanding the ratio analysis. So I'll just erase all this and we will start with the terms of balance sheet. So just now we have seen that assets and liabilities should be equal. Okay, assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. Equity is nothing but your capital, friends. Equity is nothing but your capital. Okay, assets should be equal to liabilities plus equity. Both of them form on your credit side of balance sheet. Assets form on your debit side of balance sheet. Assets will have debit balance, liabilities and this both will have credit balance, friends. So asset should be equal to your liabilities plus equity. Equity is nothing but your capital, which you see on the credit side of balance sheet. Now I will just give you one example. See, I need to purchase a property which is worth 1 crore. Okay, I need to purchase a property, okay, or plant and machinery, whatever you can consider it, it is fine. I need to purchase a property worth 1 crore. For this purpose, I have taken a loan of 80 lakhs. Loan of 80 lakhs. Plus, I have brought some capital. That means I have invested some capital as an owner of the company. So that amount is 20 lakhs. Now, this 80 lakhs is what? It is a loan. It is a loan. Loan means liability, right? Loan means liability. This 20 lakhs I have brought in as capital. Capital means equity. Okay, capital means equity. Equity means equity shares. When we generally form a company, the capital which we bring in is in the form of equity shares. That means whatever capital I bring in, it can be divided into multiple equity shares. 20 lakhs divided by 1000 equity shares or 10,000 equity shares. It depends upon how you want to frame it. So this is nothing but your equity. So again, we will learn about this equity, preference, debt in a separate topic or separate subject. We have other subjects as well, law and regulatory. We can learn more about this there. But for now, you can understand that this capital is nothing but your equity. So both of them together now is 1 crore. And property is what? Your asset. So asset is equal to liability plus equity. Isn't it matching? I have a property of 1 crore. I have a liability of 8 lakhs and at the same time I have a capital of 20 lakhs. So 1 crore is matching with your 1 crore. So this is basically the meaning of this formula. Assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. Now if somebody will say blindly assets is equal to liabilities plus equity, you can give the answer. No, I know the logic for that. Why assets is equal to liabilities plus equity? Because asset is something which has a debit balance and it is in the form of a property here, and at the same time liabilities is nothing but the loan that you have taken to acquire this property plus the 20 lakh capital which you have pumped in to start the business. So this is a practical view and this is something logical. Just don't remember the formula blindly that assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. You should know the reason why assets are equal to liabilities plus equity. So the concept of balance sheet is as simple as this, friends. Assets should be equal to liabilities plus equity. That means what you have with you and what you need to pay both should match. So that is why it is called as balance sheet, because both should be balancing. Now we know the meaning of asset. Asset is something which can give revenue for a period of more than 1 year. Okay. And at the same time the meaning of liability. Liability means obligations of a firm, obligations, and generally the obligations which are appearing in your balance sheet are generally for the period of more than 1 year. That means after the balance sheet date. We will learn about this also in the next slide. Capital is nothing but the ownership. Ownership. Equity is nothing but the ownership claim. Okay, ownership claim. If your company is closing out, whatever is the balance remains, that will belong to the owner. So equity is nothing but the residual amount that remains. The same formula you can convert it. Assets minus liability is equal to equity. That means if you say 1 crore minus 80 lakhs, so 20 lakhs is the balance that is left. If at all you want to close your business, you have a 1 crore property and you have a 80 lakhs loan. So you will set off this both, and whatever is the balance remaining 20 lakhs, that is the residual amount which belongs to the owner. So that is what is important here. This formula can be tilted anyways, but the concept is same. Assets should be equal to your liabilities plus equity. And now we have seen the meaning of what assets are, what liability is, and what equity capital is. So we will move now to the next stage. So based upon this formula, what we derived is equity is equal to assets minus liabilities. Okay, this is the formula. Generally for this there is another word which is commonly used called as net worth. The formula is same, or they call it as net assets. The formula is same. So don't get confused. If in the question they ask you the net worth, it is nothing but your capital value or your equity value, and the formula is same, assets minus liabilities. Same way if they ask you net assets, again the formula is same. Just to test your knowledge, they will ask you as net worth or net assets to identify whether you know the meaning of that. But the formula is same. Net worth, net assets, equity are all one and the same, nothing but your capital. Okay, this is something which you should remember. Now we will just move to the another topic. So in the same case, if you see, if you apply the same formula, what you will get? 20 lakhs is your equity and 1 crore is your asset value plus your loan is 80 lakhs. So it is matching. Okay, what is coming? 20. Now this is your first year. Now second year, if you have got some profit of 10 lakhs and you have paid another 10 lakhs out of your loan, then what happens, friends? 1 crore minus 70 lakhs. That means assuming you have profit of 10 lakhs. Then 1 crore minus 70 lakhs is nothing but your capital. So in this way, each and every year, you know, if you have profit, you try to repay your loan, and whatever is left is nothing but your capital, because out of 1 crore now I have settled 70 lakhs. So 30 lakhs is what? 30 lakhs is something which belongs to the owner now. I have assets worth 1 crore and my loan is only 70 lakhs. So if I pay 70 lakhs out of my 1 crore, then what is remaining? 30 lakhs. So whose is that 30 lakhs? It belongs to the owner. As I told you, owner or capital is nothing but the ownership, residual ownership, which remains after you set off the asset and liabilities. So that is what your formula tells here. There is a logic for this also, which I wanted you to know. That's why I have explained you this. Why capital is equal to assets and liabilities? Because capital is nothing but the residual amount which remains in the business after you have set off all the liabilities against your assets. That means if I have an asset worth 1 crore, I have a liability of 70 lakhs. Now, if I set it off, then still I have 30 lakhs with me. That 30 lakhs belongs to whom? It belongs to the owner of the business. So, it is called as the equity or the capital or the net worth, which belongs to the owner of the business. So, this is the logic, friends. Don't go blindly by the formula. Understand why it is assets minus liabilities, or why assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. So, for that reason, I just gave you this example of profit adjustment against your liability. Okay, so this is basically the formula for assets is equal to liabilities plus equity, or equity is equal to assets minus liabilities. Now we will just dig a bit deep into this. I'm just erasing this. Now we will just go a bit deeper in this deep concept. What we will see is, we will see something called as current and non-current. What is current and non-current? Okay, I'm again writing the same thing. Assets equal to equity plus liabilities. Okay, now in this assets, again there are two types. One is current, another one is non-current. Okay, and in equity there is something called as, again, two types. One is called as common, another one is called as preferred. Again, in your liabilities there are two types. One is called as current, another one is called as non-current, friends. Now we should understand the meaning of current or non-current. Current means all those assets which can be encashed within a period of less than 1 year from the balance sheet date. Balance sheet date is important. Okay, non-current means greater than 1 year. Okay, in general, current are called as more liquid, non-current are less liquid. Same is the case with your liabilities. You know, current is something which the liability has to be settled within a period of 1 year from balance sheet date, and non-current means greater than 1 year. That means if the balance sheet date, that means if we are preparing the balance sheet date as on 30 March 2021, then all the liabilities which are there till 2022 are called as current, and all the liabilities which are greater than 31st March 2022 are called as non-current. Okay, current means those liabilities which you have to settle within 1 year. For example, there is a payable, that means you have to pay to someone and you have to settle it within 1 year, then you classify it as a current liability in your balance sheet. If the liability is for more than 1 year, for example, gratuity. What happens? Gratuity you generally pay for an employee when he serves a minimum period of 5 years, or when he leaves the company if he serves for more than 5 years. So in this case, the liability for you doesn't occur within 5 years, isn't it? So it is a long-term liability. Again, there may be short-term liability which can be classified as current, but that is a different issue. I am just giving you an example here that generally gratuity, the component of non-current is more than your current. So any liability or any asset for which you have to settle it within a period of 1 year is called as current, and more than 1 year is called as non-current. For example, in case of current, you can call as cash as current, isn't it? Cash is the most liquid balance that you have in your asset. That means you can easily convert it into cash because it is already in the form of a cash. Similarly, receivables. Receivables also is something in general which we have to collect within a period of 1 year. So this is called as current. Similarly, there is something called as inventory. Inventory is something which you will use in production and make the final product. So you generally don't keep inventory for 2-3 years. Okay, if you keep for 2-3 years, that means you are so cash rich that you are buying so much inventory and keeping it in your factory now itself, which is not a good sign. So inventory, generally people keep a stock of only 3 months or 4 months, which we will learn in the ratio analysis. Okay, there is something called as inventory turnover ratio, and the ideal inventory turnover ratio is 90 days. That means generally we have to keep a stock of lesser than 90 days for a good business. So this is generally the concept. So all the inventories are something which are current. That means it can be easily converted into cash within a period of 1 year. So, and non-current, your fixed assets. So non-current means fixed assets. Fixed assets are something which occur in your balance sheet and the benefit of it comes to you for more than 1 year. That means in general fixed assets are bought so that it gives you a benefit for multiple years, 10 years, 20 years. Your buildings and all, they are not current asset, isn't it? You can't settle it or sell it within a period of 1 year and liquidate your business. They are brought in the business with the assumption that it will give you a benefit of a longer period of time. So these are called as non-current assets. So this is the distinction between current and non-current assets. Okay, and now we will see something called as common or preferred. Common is nothing but your equity share capital, friends. This is the most common method of capital infusion in a company, and that's why it is called as equity share capital. And it also includes your reserves and surpluses. Reserves and surpluses. That means whatever is the net profit that you earn, you transfer it to balance sheet, isn't it? This is what I told you. So it becomes part of your equity only. Because that net profit belongs to whom? It belongs to owner of the company. If at all you want to liquidate the company, whatever is the balance remaining after setting off your asset and liabilities, it belongs to whom, friends? The profit belongs to the owner. So the net profit gets added to your capital. So it is commonly called as reserves and surpluses, or it is also called as retained earnings. It is also called as retained earnings. So these are the most commonly used term. So this form part of your common capital. Preferred capital means generally they give something, a preference to some friends or family or strategic partners or business partners. Those type of capital are called as preferred capital. Generally, mostly strategic partners is something which comes under your preferred capital, strategic partners. So this is less commonly seen, but at the same time, if you say capital, then you can also include something called as your preference share capital. And also at the same time, there is something called as debentures, which also forms part of your balance sheet liability side. Preference share capital is also same like your equity share capital, friends. Preference share capital, as the name itself suggests, what happens in preference share capital, at the time of liquidating of the company, these people will get the first preference. That means preference share capital people will get more upper hand on the assets remaining. That means if at the time of liquidation of the company, I set off my liabilities and assets and there is 100 rupees balance left. So first I have to settle this preference share capital, and whatever is the balance left, that will belong to your equity share capital, equity shareholders. So they will get the last preference, friends. Equity shareholders are the ones who will get your last preference, whereas preference share capital, the name itself suggests they have more preference than the equity shareholders. So they are also one part of your capital. And there is at the same time, there is another thing called as debentures. Debentures are nothing but kind of your loan, friends. Instead of approaching a bank for a loan, they issue something called as debentures. It is subscribed by large institutional players or maybe your group company itself, and it is a kind of a loan which carries a rate of interest. That means I will issue 1 lakh debentures at rate of 10% interest, and the maturity is 5 years. That means for 5 years I have to keep on paying 10% interest, and after the end of 5 years I will settle off this, just like loan, payment of interest and payment of principal on maturity. So that is how these debentures work. It is just an alternative to loan, but in this case you don't approach the bank, you approach your group company or your foreign company or foreign institutional investors or a large domestic institutional investors who subscribe to your debentures in anticipation of a good rate of interest return. So this is also kind of a loan. Loan means liability. Liability means credit side. So this is what you need to broadly understand. What are assets? Current assets, non-current assets. Current assets means cash, receivables, inventory. Non-current assets means something which is called as something which is payable for a period of more than 1 year, and hence non-current assets are generally fixed assets, plant and machinery, land and buildings, which occur in your business throughout the lifetime of the business. Equity capital, just now I have explained. Common forms of equity capital or common forms of capital are equity capital, preference share capital, and there is a third concept which is called as debentures. It is similar to your concept of bonds or loans. And then liabilities, you have current liabilities, non-current liabilities. The simple logic for current and non-current is 1 year. If the liability has to be settled within 1 year from the balance sheet date, it is a current liability. If not, it is a non-current liability, friends. So this is the concept of your balance sheet terminology. So this I wanted you to remember very well. So I'm just erasing this. In general, I will just tell you, in P&L there is something called as sales, and then you have expense, okay, and then the net amount that comes to you is in general called as EBITDA. This term I think you must have commonly heard it. And then you deduct depreciation or amortization. The meaning is same, friends. Depreciation or amortization. Generally amortization we do for intangible assets like goodwill or something. I will explain to you again at a later stage. So this amount that will come after this is called as EBIT, or this is also called as the operating profit. Okay, this is also called as the operating profit. And then you pay interest if at all you have any interest obligation. And then you have something called as profit before tax. Then you reduce tax, and then you have profit after tax. So this is the flow of your P&L account, friends. So EBITDA, earnings before interest, depreciation and tax. This is called as EBITDA. Why EBITDA is important? Because depreciation and amortization is generally a non-cash expense, isn't it? It is not something that we incur in cash. So generally people would prefer to know the real value of sales minus expense. So that is why EBITDA is found out. We will learn more about this in a chapter called ratio analysis. EBIT is nothing but your real operating profit. Interest is something which is not related to your regular operations. Interest is something which is related to your financial obligation. It is not something which is your regular operation. It doesn't form part of your trading account. So in general, people omit interest, or they try to bring interest in the last in order to find out what the profit before tax is. Now, if you see in this case, interest is something which has more priority, friends. Out of all your profits that you come out of your operating profit, interest is the most important priority payment. That means if you have some debenture interest, then they will have the first priority. If at all your company is doing bad and it is going to shut down, then debenture holders will get the first preference in payment of interest. That means whatever money is left out, interest is first paid out, and then any statutory dues, if any are there, that will be paid out. And then you have dividends to preference shareholders, because preference shareholders generally are more preferable than equity. That is what I just told you some time ago. You know, they have an upper hand compared to equity. Only if there is something left out in the end, that will go to your common equity shareholders. This is generally the order of settling the liability in case a company liquidates or shuts down. That means first interest obligation to banks or financial institutions or debenture holders should be first set off, then statutory payments, then preference shareholders dividends, and then the last remains, if anything remains, then that goes to your equity shareholders, because equity shareholders are the real owners of the business. So first they have to take care of all the other liabilities, and if at all anything is still remaining, then they will take it before closing down the company. So this is in general the preference of payment at the time of liquidation of a company. Okay, I will now just quickly show you the format of P&L and balance sheet before closing this video, and in our next session we will learn about ratio analysis, and we will cover more deeper concepts of balance sheet and P&L into that, this current, non-current, and what are the different types of ratios, so that you will get much better understanding on this concept of balance sheet terminology as well as profit and loss account. So if you see the common format of P&L, as I told you, it is not horizontal, it is vertical. That means first you will have the income, friends, and then you will have the expenditure, and then I told you, first normal expenses are all deducted and then interest will come, okay, and then you will have profit before tax, then you will pay tax, and then you will have net profit. So this is the vertical format, friends. That means you will start with income, expenditure, profit before tax, and profit after tax. So this is the common format, and we have to show comparative of last year also. This is how a profit and loss looks. And at the same time, if you want to see the balance sheet, again this is also in vertical format. What did I tell you? Equity and liabilities plus current liabilities and non-current liabilities, isn't it? That is what we discussed. Equity and liabilities was our first concept, isn't it? And then we have something called as liabilities, current liabilities and non-current liabilities. Current liabilities means those which we have to pay within 1 year, like your trade payables. Trade, that means you have purchased something and you have to pay. Short-term borrowings, that means you have to settle within 1 year. Short-term provisions. And at the same time, long-term non-current liabilities means long-term borrowings, long-term loans. All those things come under your non-current liabilities. Similarly, assets. Non-current asset, current asset. Non-current means nothing but your fixed asset, your goodwill, and all those long loans and advances, long-term loans and advances that you have given to other people are called as non-current. Current assets means what I have told you, receivables, cash, inventories, which can be quickly converted into cash within the next 1 year period of time. So this is the general format of your balance sheet and also the profit and loss account, friends. This is how it looks, and there are notes to accounts. We have to give the breakup of each and every transaction in something called as notes to accounts. That means for each and everything we have to give notes. Like for long-term loans and advances, what are that is included, okay? What is that is included? For inventories, what is that is included? For trade receivables, what is that is included? For each and everything we have to give notes to accounts. So that is how your profit and loss, balance sheet and notes to account look like. So far we have covered the entire concept of trading account, profit and loss and balance sheet. Hopefully you understood each and everything. In the next chapter we will learn ratio analysis. In that we will in a detailed manner we will cover all the different balance sheet items as well as profit and loss items, and how to calculate ratios out of it and how to arrive at a proper meaning out of it. So that is all about your concept of balance sheet, friends. So I have explained everything in a practical manner so that you get to understand it properly. In our next video we will cover something called as a ratio analysis. So hope this is understood. In case you don't understand, please message me or DM me in the group, or you can even privately message me and I will be more than happy to answer your queries. Please try to understand the concept. Don't simply go by the formulas like what you see in other videos. It won't help you in the long run. Understand the concept so that you can easily solve any kind of MCQs, because after completion of this syllabus we will extensively solve a lot of MCQs. I think I'm just planning to hold nearly 10 to 20 MCQs or mock tests so that we can cover at least 400 to 500 questions in each and every module of all the 3 subjects. Okay, so it will help you to understand the concept which you have learned now in a much better manner. So that's all for today, friends. Have a safe day and take care of yourself. Please do subscribe to our channel in case you have not, and please share this video among your friends also. Take care. Thank you.